Hello. My name is Margaret Pierce. Most folks just call me Maggie. I'm 58 years old, and if there's one truth I've come to know deep in my bones, it's this: sometimes, the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. For 30 years, my entire world revolved around my son, Ryan. I raised him alone, worked double shifts, gave up my marriage, skipped vacations, and sacrificed everything so he could have a life I never did. I paid for his college, his medical bills, even his wedding, all without a second thought. Because that's what love looks like, right? You give, and you give, and you give. But love, as I've learned, can sometimes disguise itself as a leash, and sacrifice when it's one-sided turns into a quiet kind of prison. It all came to a head the day I returned to Ryan and his wife Brittany's house, their house. I was staying with them while working as a live-in assistant for an elderly woman named Miss Carter. I'd just quit that job, the one that paid $8,000 a month. I had my suitcase in hand, ready to explain why, but I didn't get the chance. Ryan looked at me with this strange coldness and said, "You quit? What, are you just planning to sit around freeloading now?" That word freeloading landed like a slap. In that moment, I realized I was no longer a mother in his eyes. I was just a wallet, a burden, something to be discarded. And that right there was the moment everything changed. I stood there, still holding my suitcase, trying to gather my words. "I didn't quit to sit around," I said gently. "Miss Carter passed away. She'd been my employer and friend for the last several years. I had been at her side through every fall, every lonely holiday, every whispered prayer. When she died, I lost more than a job. I lost someone who saw me." But Ryan didn't hear any of that. His face stayed hard. "That job was $8,000 a month," he snapped. "You couldn't wait until we had things figured out? We've got bills piling up, Brittany's thinking about getting pregnant, and now you're just done?" I tried to keep my voice calm. "I thought I'd come back early to help her during the pregnancy. Maybe even help with the baby." Brittany didn't even blink. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "Postpartum recovery requires professional care. This isn't amateur hour. No offense, Maggie, but you were a housekeeper, right? What do you know about infant health?" Before I could answer, her mother Linda, always so polished and passive-aggressive, added in with a fake smile, "It's science, dear. Babies aren't just about diapers. You need training." They didn't see me. Not really. They saw someone who was beneath them. Someone who had outlived her usefulness. "I won't step on anyone's toes," I said softly. Linda's eyes gleamed. "Of course, but you'll still cover the nanny and the night nurse. I'll handle hiring." And that's when it hit me. They didn't want me to be part of their life. They wanted me to be their income. A quiet little paycheck in the background. I squared my shoulders and said, "I'm 58 years old. I think it's time I retired." Brittany laughed. "Retired? You don't even have a pension. What are you retiring from?" Her words cut deep. She was right. I had no retirement fund. Every dollar I had ever made went into their lives. I paid off their mortgage, covered their bills, bought their groceries, gave up my own future so they could have theirs. And now they stood there, mocking me. Brittany crossed her arms. "Your income was pathetic anyway. You should have planned better." Then Ryan's son raised his voice. "You're stressing her out. Brittany's trying to get pregnant. We need money more than ever. You're still in good shape. You can work another 20 years. 20 years. That's what I was to him. 20 more years of service. A permanent support beam for his ambitions. That's when the fog lifted. I wasn't a mother. I was an asset. And I was done being useful on command. I steadied my breath, leveled my voice, and said it again. "I'm retiring. That's final." Linda's expression shifted for the first time. The smugness cracked, revealing just a sliver of fear. She tried to soften her tone. "Maggie, be realistic. There's no room for you here, but there's a solution." I knew that voice. That sweet, syrupy condescension. My stomach turned. "There's a wealthy family looking for a live-in assistant," she continued. "Great pay, room and board. You've done it before. You'd be helping us too." I stared at them, barely able to believe what I was hearing. "I quit," I said calmly. "I'm not going back to work in anyone's house." Linda's smile vanished. Her eyes went flat. "Well, there's a senior residence nearby. They're always looking for kitchen help. At least then you'd be pulling your weight." Brittany nodded. "Way more reasonable. Stop expecting us to carry you." Rage simmered just under my skin, but I didn't let it show. I turned to Ryan. You really think sending your own mother to scrub floors in a nursing home is acceptable? He avoided my eyes but kept his voice steady. Be realistic, Mom. You've always said you wanted independence. Isn't this dignified? Right in front of me, he started dialing a number. That was it. The son I had carried through sickness and schooling and heartbreak was now eager to ship me off like last week's trash. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. I didn't flinch. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. Instead, I picked up the same suitcase I'd brought in and stood tall. If this is who you've become, Ryan, I said, my voice calm as steel, then I guess I never really knew you. Brittany scoffed. Drama queen. I ignored her. I ignored them all. I walked to the door, each step steadier than the last. Just as I reached for the handle, Linda snapped, "You're his mother. You're responsible for his future." I turned and faced her fully. I've been responsible for Ryan for 30 years. I gave up my marriage, my health, my future. What more do you want? My dignity? And then, I walked out. And I didn't look back. I pressed the elevator button with a steady hand, head high, heart pounding. The ride down felt like descending out of a former life. With every floor, I left behind the woman who used to beg for space in someone else's home. By the time I reached the lobby, I wasn't Ryan's mother anymore. I was Margaret Pierce, a woman with $8 million in a trust fund that no one else could touch. That night, I checked into the most luxurious hotel downtown and ordered room service without flinching. Then, I called Mr. Daniels, me lawyer, and said 3 words. It's time. Proceed. Over the next week, I toured every high-end gated community in the city. Grand staircases, vaulted ceilings, polished granite floors, but nothing felt right. Until I walked into the Ridge at Cedar Heights. It was elegance without apology. Winding driveways, security gates, fountains that sparkled in the sun, and standing in the sales office, clipboard in hand, was Chloe, Linda's niece, Brittany's cousin. We'd met at a few awkward family gatherings. She was all expensive heels and overpriced perfume. Her face froze the second she saw me. "Maggie Pierce?" she sneered. "What are you doing here?" I smiled, slow and sure. "Looking to buy." She blinked, her smirk flickering. "Buy? This isn't open house weekend for the help." People around us looked up. I didn't break my smile. "I'm not here for snacks, Chloe. I'm here to purchase, unless you'd prefer I speak to your manager." She faltered, but showed me around. I watched her carefully, the slight tremble in her hand, the way her voice wavered when explaining marble finishes and imported tile. She didn't know how to process it. Me, Margaret Pierce, daring to walk through a world she thought belonged only to people like her. She pointed to a scale model of a villa. "These start at 3.5 million. We require proof of funds before moving forward." Translation: "Show me your bank account, maid." I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Her eyes darted to the screen, and her face went pale. Whispers filled the room. "She's got 8 million. Did she win the lottery?" I looked her straight in the eye. "Will that do?" Before she could stammer out a response, a well-dressed man approached. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Alex, the sales manager. Is there a problem?" Chloe forced a smile. "No problem. Mrs. Pierce was just browsing." Alex turned to me. "Would you like me to personally assist with the rest of the tour?" "That would be lovely," I said, slipping my phone back into my bag. We toured the model villa. Vaulted ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, a sunroom that overlooked rolling hills. It felt like peace-like freedom I hadn't tasted in decades. When we returned to the office, I looked at Alex. "I'll take it," I said. "Cash. Full amount." The room stilled. Even Alex blinked in disbelief. I wrote the check, then turned to him and said, "Also, I'd like Sophie, the woman at the front desk, to get the commission. She treated me with respect. Chloe didn't." His nod was immediate. "Of course, ma'am." Chloe's face burned with humiliation. But I didn't look back. Because the house was mine. And for the first time, so was my life. I thought I'd earned peace. A 5-star dinner. Fresh flowers in every room. A quiet evening with the city lights below me and a glass of wine in hand. But peace doesn't last long when you're the former paycheck of a desperate man. It started with a phone call from Linda, smooth, sugar-laced, and clearly rehearsed. "I heard a little rumor," she purred. "You bought a house in Cedar Heights?" I said nothing. She continued, "You really should have consulted us. It affects the family." I nearly choked on my coffee. "The family?" I said. "You mean the one that tried to dump me into a nursing home kitchen?" Oh, Maggie. She laughed like I was the unreasonable one. You're being sensitive. Then came the real question. Where did all that money come from? There it was. Not concern, not love, just hunger. You want to know? I said. It came from loyalty, from years of work, from a woman who saw me. Miss Carter left it all to me, because I earned it. Linda scoffed. Oh, please. This isn't some rags to riches story. You were a housekeeper. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Linda, I said, and hung up. But that wasn't the end. Ryan started sending messages, flowers, voicemails that moved from guilt to anger. Then, one day, a massive bouquet showed up at my door. Red roses, card tucked inside. Love, your son. I tossed the whole thing in the trash, took a picture, sent it to my building's concierge. Block all deliveries from him, no exceptions. A few days of silence followed. Then came the storm. Monikath, kind young associate from the showroom, called, voice trembling. You should see this, she said, and sent a link. Ryan had launched a live stream channel. Title, How My Mother Abandoned Me. I clicked. There he was, in some dingy room, eyes puffy, voice cracking like a soap actor. My mother never loved me, he sniffled. She left me, took some job with strangers. I had to live in a crummy apartment. She didn't help with my wedding. Now she's rich and acts like I don't exist. Comments poured in. She's heartless. You deserved better. He was selling merchandise. T-shirts that read, All I wanted was her love. It was a circus of pity and people ate it up. I almost called my lawyer right then, but I waited, because I had a plan. That night, I registered my own account. Same platform, same audience. My channel title, So this is the mom who abandoned Ryan. First, I dropped into his live stream. Donated $5,000. The chat exploded. Then I sent a message. Hi everyone, I'm the heartless mother Ryan's been crying about. Want to hear my side? I'm live in 30 minutes. Thousands joined. I went on camera calm, steady, unblinking. Did I cut off financial support to Ryan? Yes, but that's not the whole story. I laid it out. The years of sacrifice, the tuition, the groceries, the mortgage I paid. I showed scanned receipts, notarized trust documents, proof that I'd intended to leave Ryan and Brittany every penny I had until they tried to throw me out and treat me like a servant. I paused, let the silence breathe. Ryan isn't even my biological son, I said. I adopted him when he was 1. He was abandoned, left to die in a hospital. I gave him everything, and when I was no longer useful, he tried to erase me. The chat blew up. She saved his life. This is financial abuse. Then I dropped the final hammer. A recorded phone call, Ryan arranging for me to be placed as a live-in assistant again. Just someone to help out, he said in the clip. She's used to that role. The silence on the stream was deafening. And then, applause. Digital applause. I didn't feel victory, but I felt something close. Relief. He told the world a story. So I told the truth. And the truth? It hit harder than any lie. The internet moved fast. Within days, Ryan's live stream account vanished, banned for violating terms. His merchandise store shut down. The pity donations stopped. Sympathy drained as quickly as it came. But people like Ryan, they don't disappear quietly. He came back with teeth bared. This time, with legal documents. A thick envelope arrived by courier, addressed in Ryan's handwriting. Inside, a lawsuit. He was suing me for emotional damages, for exploitation, for abandonment. I laughed. Then I called my lawyer. He skimmed the pages, jaw tight. It's weak, he muttered. But it's enough to drag you into court. For months. Can we fight it? He looked at me, steady and sure. We won't just fight it. We'll win. So we went to court. Ryan arrived in a press suit, smug as ever. Brittany by his side, dressed like a tragic housewife in a low-budget drama. He told the judge I manipulated him. That I used his adoption to build a sob story. That I discarded him once I had money. I sat there, silent, letting him unravel his web. Then it was my turn. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I showed receipts, legal documents, adoption papers, audio files, trust paperwork, years of sacrifice in black and white. Even the judge seemed taken aback by the sheer volume of evidence. Brittany's eyes began to shift, flickering between Ryan and the truth sitting quietly in my hands. When the ruling came, it was swift. Case dismissed. Frivolous, malicious intent. But I wasn't done. My countersuit for defamation and harassment went through. The damages weren't massive, but they were real. And official. I walked out of that courthouse lighter than I'd felt in years. No cheers, no parades. Just the solid sound of a gavel. And the quiet satisfaction of justice served. Outside, I expected Ryan to shout, to beg, to blame. But he didn't come out. Brittany did. She stood by my car, arms crossed, eyes hollow. "I'm leaving him," she said flatly. I raised an eyebrow. "I thought he was just broken," she added. "But I see it now. He's rotten. And I won't drown with him." I said nothing. Because I didn't need to. She turned and walked away. And just like that, the house of lies they built began to collapse. Brick by miserable brick. After the trial, I thought that was it. The noise died down. The headlines faded. My name stopped trending. I went back to my villa, back to my garden, back to the quiet. But peace, for people like me, is always temporary. A week later, a thick envelope arrived. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Ryan. Inside was a single-page letter. "Mom," it began, "I know you hate me. I've made mistakes. But I'm your son. That doesn't change." It went on rambling, desperate. "I have nothing left. No job, no one. You're all I have. Please don't shut the door forever." And then the final line. "If you don't help me, I'll remind the world what kind of woman you really are." A threat wrapped in a plea. I stared at it for a long time. Then I tore it in half. Because I finally understood, Ryan wasn't my responsibility. He never was. Yes, I raised him. I saved him. I gave him everything. But that didn't mean I owed him my peace. I filed the letter away, just in case. My lawyer would need to see it. Then I poured a glass of wine, walked out to the garden, and let the sun warm my face. He could try whatever he wanted. He could lie, twist, manipulate. But I wasn't afraid anymore. For a few weeks, things were quiet again. Too quiet. Then Monica called. Her voice shook. "Margaret, are you okay?" I frowned. "Of course. Why? You haven't seen the video?" My stomach turned. She sent a link. A new account, anonymous, but the voice undeniably Ryan's. The title, asterisk, "The Truth About My Mother, What She's Hiding," asterisk. I clicked. There he was, eyes bloodshot, tone venomous. "You think she's a victim?" he hissed. "She's not. She's a fraud." Then he did something I didn't expect. He showed my adoption papers. "She never loved me," he said. "She took me in for sympathy, for handouts, for pity points. And when she got what she wanted, she dumped me." The comments exploded. "She used him for tax breaks?" Disgusting. My hands shook. The poison was spreading again. But this time I didn't panic. I called my lawyer. "It's time," I said. He already had everything. The original adoption files, notarized statements, hospital bills, proof I received zero compensation, zero funding, just 3 jobs and a mother's willpower. We released it all. And then I released my own video. Not a live stream. Not a rebuttal. A documentary. From the day I found Ryan abandoned in a hospital crib. The surgeries, the school years, the betrayals, the eviction. I told it all. Calm, factual, brutal. The internet responded. She saved him. This isn't abandonment, it's survival. She's the victim. This time, there was no turning back for Ryan. His fake accounts vanished. But he wasn't done. Because narcissists never are. A week later, a knock at the door. Not a delivery. Not a neighbor. It was Brittany. Perfect makeup. Designer purse. Smiling like a fox in silk. "Hi, Maggie," she chirped. "We need to talk." I didn't open the door fully. She stepped closer. "This thing with Ryan, it's gone too far. He's humiliated. Isn't that enough?" I crossed my arms. "You think I started this?" She dropped the act. Her voice sharpened. "If you don't back off, you'll regret it." I tilted my head. "Is that a threat?" "No," she snapped. "It's a promise." I looked her dead in the eye. "I've survived worse than you." And I slammed the door in her face. But my heart was pounding. Because I knew. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The weeks that followed blurred into one long, creeping shadow. Blocked numbers. Silence on the line. Then soft laughter. The line would go dead. Packages arrived, no return address, empty boxes, torn newspaper, Ansia dead rat. Classic intimidation tactics. I handed it all over to my lawyer and the police. We documented everything, but still, it kept coming. Until Monica called again. Her voice cracked. You better sit down. A new video, another anonymous account. Ryan again. But this time, it wasn't anger. It was something else. Mom, he rasped into the camera. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. The breath left my lungs. I've lost everything, he said. The money, the house, my marriage, my reputation. I blamed you for it all, but I destroyed my own life. He paused, eyes glassy. I've been thinking about ending it. I froze. Not guilt, not forgiveness, just numb. Then his voice. You were the only person who ever gave a damn. And I threw it away. The video cut off. Just black. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing his words, over and over. I didn't know if it was real or just another manipulation. Then, at 8:30 the next morning, my phone rang. Miss Pierce? A woman's voice said gently. This is Detective Sarah Clean, Vancouver Police Department. My heart dropped. We found your son, she said. He's alive, but it's complicated. He was found in a motel, malnourished, dehydrated, suffering a full mental breakdown. He'd listed me as next of kin. Of course he had. I booked the next flight. By the time I walked into the hospital, I was trembling. Not with fear but with the weight of 30 years of betrayal and heartbreak crashing down. Room 214. He was thin, pale, eyes sunken, but alive. He looked up. Mom, he whispered. I didn't speak. I sat beside him, held his cold hand. We sat there in silence. Then he said it. I'm sorry. 2 words. Too little. Too late. But maybe. Just enough. I didn't forgive him. Not right away. Maybe not ever. But I did stay. And when he was stable, I arranged for him to be transferred to a long-term care facility. Safe. Structured. Out of my house, but not out of reach. When they told him, he flared. You're locking me up? No, I said calmly. I'm keeping you alive. He scoffed. I don't need your help. You don't want it, I corrected. But you need it. He turned his face to the wall. I didn't argue, because I wasn't chasing approval anymore. Weeks passed. I returned to my villa, my garden, my music. I chose peace. And for once I didn't feel guilty about it. Every so often, I checked in with the facility. He was adjusting. Slowly, bitterly. But adjusting. Then, one morning, a text came. I still don't forgive you, but thanks for not letting me die. I stared at the screen for a long time, then typed back, I don't need your forgiveness. I need you to survive. That's enough. And it was. For now, because real closure doesn't come in a courtroom, or a video, or even an apology. It comes when you choose yourself, not out of revenge, but because you're finally done sacrificing for people who wouldn't bleed a single drop for you, and that's not bitterness. That's freedom.